Now that Columbina is released, who are the top 5 DPS, you think? Have things changed? You know, I think the thing that's really hard about, like, giving a top 5 DPS is a lot of those carries can't be good at the same time, right? I mean, I say a lot, but, like, right now it's mainly Nefer and Flynn's, right? They can't both be really good at the same time. Only one of them is going to be really good, right? What are the strongest 3 teams you can play simultaneously? That's a good question. Probably do Nefer. Probably do Mawika. Probably Skirk? Maybe? Varka, true. But there's Varka too, but he's not out yet, so he doesn't count. James from Big Time Rush. The llama buff is not nearly as impactful on the Nefer team as it is on the Colomina carry team. It's still big, but it's not as impactful at all. But that being said, Akasha maxing does not give you, like, let me Nefer. What's the leaderboards for Nefer? Okay, well, first of all, it's not using Columbina, which is a pretty big difference. But yeah, because apparently number 1 is the EM circlet, right? Yeah. But, like, I don't know. The main reason why this the EM goblet stuff or EM circlet stuff is competitive is because with Sig, you end up with so much crit that you actually start reaching the diminishing returns on crit. It's not something that really starts happening until you have an insane amount of crit. But because Nefer's Sig gives an insane amount of crit, because her artifact set gives crit, because Llama gives crit, because she's crit Ascension, she actually does end up with so much crit that getting more crit is getting less and less valuable. Right? Like, if we look at the upgrade that you get from 1 roll of crit, right? So you start, let's say you put the baseline at, like, 60, 120, right? So 240 CV. If this is less than 4, this square divided by 8 plus 1, otherwise this minus 1. Right? And we look at 1 roll of crit, 6.6%.
Would you like to go moon gazing? You consider my
And we look at the percentage upgrade from the previous. Minus 1 in percentage. So 1 roll of crit. Right? This is the value of a roll of crit based on how many rolls of crit you already have. Or maybe we can have it based on how much CV you already have, instead of how many rolls of crit you already have. Alright, and we just do this, insert this. Right? These builds here, right, on the front page of the leaderboards, they have 300 crit damage, right? They have more than 300. 350 crit damage, right? 340. That's actually here. A roll of crit for them is a 1.5% more damage instead of 2.5%. It's way, way worse. All right, and if we go back to this, we have EM. Right, which is going to be base EM. Why? I don't get it. Because when you aren't full crit rate or full crit damage, right? Let's say you have 50% crit rate, 100% crit damage. Getting 10% more crit rate means that instead of 50% of your damage being doubled, 60% of your damage is doubled instead. Right? Which is just a 10% DPS increase. Well, it's not 10%. It's... Oh, dude, I'm too tired to explain this properly. It's just that when you're... Because crit rate caps, right? Crit damage, once you have, like... Or getting 5% more crit damage when you're at 100 crit damage increases your crit damage by 5%. That's 5% more DPS. well, I guess it's 2.5% more DPS because the base crit, but whatever, right? When you're at 300, it increases it by like fucking 1 point something percent. It's a way more marginal DPS upgrade. Anyways, base EM in these builds with Nahida, right? You'd have 187 times 2. You'd have Instructor, Serenade, Nefer base, Nefer Ascension stat, or not Ascension stat, but Ascension passive. How much how much EM do you get from Nefer's Sig again? I just thought that since EM inherently has the most diminishing return, it doesn't have diminishing returns nearly as harsh on Nefer though, because Nefer directly scales with EM. So at worst, EM on Nefer scales like attack on other characters. But then you also get a multiplication of the additional EM scaling from the reaction bonus, which that part has the like specific diminishing returns, but you're always pairing that with something that's linear because she's a direct EM scaling. So at its worst, it's linear scaling, which is still better than something that's always linear scaling, like just attack scaling, because it double dips, right? The EM scaling gets multiplied by the EM multiplier, so EM gets factored in twice. Anyways, apparently it's 120 from Sig, and let's say 120 from subs, right? So you had like around 1,000 something before EM substats. And one substat is about 20. Your EM multiplier here is 6 times EM divided by 2,000 plus EM plus 1. We got Columbina 40%. We got the Ascending Gleam like 20-something%, probably-ish. Is that it? That's it, right? Okay. So this is the EM multiplier, and this is the adjusted, or the effective EM, which means that the increase from one roll of EM is around 2.6 here. No, because I'm not including the llama buff. But then I have to make the calc a lot bigger. Oh, that's kind of cringe. Oh. Yeah, I'm not taking the llama burst into account. But, like, I'm too lazy. I don't wanna. Do I have to? I'm not doing it. I don't care. Just guesstimate. Meh. But like you can see, right, before looking at the llama quills, EM is actually better than crit at this level of investment. But not to the point where EM circlet is better than crit circlet, right? That goes below the crit scaling, until you have a really high amount of crit. The thing is, you can get to a really high amount of crit on Nefer relatively easily. Now, once you add in the quills, the benchmark becomes even higher, but you can actually reach that with some weapons. All of this to say, it is very, like, if you have a really good EM circlet, it's usable.